Hello, brothers and sisters. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I came across this story yesterday. I actually watched it on my local news last night, and it's a sad, tragic story that happened here in DFW, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Because I live in Texas and I live in a suburb of DFW. And I came across this story, and it's about a shooting, unfortunately. And we do have too many of those in the US. I'll grant you that. And I've had a few of my commenters recently saying, why is it that you always push more guns? It seems crazy, especially for the British, because we don't like guns over here. We don't want our kids shot in our schools. It's not like Israel or the US. We don't need guns in schools. And so really the bottom line for me is, if you ever watch my channel, a lot of my stuff is related to your personal rights. I like the First Amendment, free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press. I like that kind of stuff. But I also like all the other freedoms that we have. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I think they're both just as important as the other. And I've done my research, and when the founders got together, they were very purposeful putting the right to bear arms as the Second Amendment to the US Constitution. These guys were all traitors and rebels to the crown to have the same weapons that the British military had, so that if need came, they could fight another war. They had just finished fighting a war. They were rebels to the crown. And so a big part of why we have guns in America is to fight the tyranny of the government, and then any other lawful purpose. And one of those lawful purposes is self-defense. And I always find a gun is the great equalizer, is what I like to say. Generally, those men are bigger, stronger, and can overpower women. But if the woman has a gun, she can actually defend herself. And I know in the UK, people will say, oh, we have the right to self-defense. Yeah, you do. But you have the right to defend yourself with fists, basically. You're not allowed to have a knife. You're not allowed to have a gun, which means that you really, in effect, cannot defend yourself against a bigger person better at fighting than you. So really, you have no self-defense. And so a gun allows you to have that self-defense. And there are bad people out there, so I always pound the drum, and this is mostly an American viewpoint because we do have guns, but because we do have guns, schools need to be hardened against them. We should have armed security in schools. We should have people vetted before they can come into schools. We should lock all the doors. Why? Because we've had tragedies. Now, Britain went the other way, wasn't it, after Dunblane? I think that's right. Where, and you can tell me in the comments if I got it wrong, where after shooting in the 90s, was it 97, that the British gave up all their guns. I think that's kind of what happened. The populace decided to give up guns. Just because the populace decided to do that doesn't mean it was the right thing to do, and you might have second thoughts, because now the government comes around and cautions you for throwing things in the bin and throw you in jail for tweets. And people that protest migrant sexual assault are getting longer sentences than sexual assaulter. So there's definitely tyranny of the government in the UK. And so from that perspective, perhaps guns are needed. And so I did that story yesterday about the school in Birmingham that was allegedly invaded by balaclava, bat-wielding men. And if it were true, I don't think it was really true. I think there was probably some guys walking down the street and some Karen got overexcited, to be honest. But if it were true, then I'd want an armed security guard in that school if somebody was going to attack a school. What's to stop a Muslim jihadist with a suicide belt and a knife from going into a school instead of a synagogue? If he did, wouldn't you want the security guard to have a gun so he could shoot the guy before he could explode his bomb vest? I certainly would. It's no good to put your head in the sand about the dangers of the world. You just need to prepare as best you can for the dangers. Let's watch this incident that was on the news last night here in Texas that shows the problem with everything that I just said.
Details on a woman's murder at a Dallas shopping center that escalated from a courteous gesture to a violent confrontation. Good evening, I'm Steve Eager.
I'm Heather Hayes, Fox 4's Alex Boyer, live with the details from Arrest Records. Alex.
Hey guys, and according to that arrest warrant affidavit, we now know that it was the victim who got mad at the suspect for not saying thank you after she held the door open for the suspect at an area business. Well, that ended up spilling over into another nearby business where the arguing continued, and then once they were outside, that is when that verbal altercation turned deadly.
Wow, this is a crazy story. This appears that a woman was just being courteous and held the door for another woman coming into a store that other woman didn't thank the woman who held the door. And that turned into an argument where the woman who actually was courteous and held the door shot and killed the lady for not thanking her. This is a wild one, folks. This one does point out the dangers of having guns, 100%.
The shooter was telling them, come outside, like, let's handle it outside, like, let's fight outside. And the mom and the daughter were kind of just like telling her to like go away.
This 27-year-old nurse who asked that we not use her name had just walked out of this PetSmart store located off West Wheatland Road in the southeast Oak Cliff area of Dallas Tuesday afternoon when she noticed two women, one with her 20-year-old daughter, arguing in the parking lot. Moments later, she heard gunshots.
But the mom
Wow, at a PetSmart. This is where you go buy your pet food, your pet toys. You take your doggy to the vet, and somebody decided to start a fight there over not being thanked for opening the door, and somebody died over it. This is crazy.
Mom and daughter tried to like get in their car and like de-escalate the situation, but the lady wasn't having it. So they ended up starting to fight. And then that's when the lady pulled out her gun and shot her.
Dallas police later identified the suspect as 22-year-old Kiona Hampton. She fled the scene in her car, but was arrested hours later with the help of surveillance video that captured her image, car, and license plate.
Good. I'm glad they caught her. This maniac should not be out on the streets. She has anger issues.
The witness ran to help and put her training to work, performing CPR.
The daughter was next to the mom the whole time. She, it's hard because, the screaming of a child for her mother is never easy, and it's never going to leave my head.
Now, it did say that the child was 20. It wasn't a young child. It appears this is mom who got shot by the other woman. Her daughter was with her who was 20. Again, this is nuts.
Victim identified as Cecilia Simpson died at the hospital. All of this started on the other end of the shopping center at Five Below as both the suspect and victim exited the store with something that might seem like a simple gesture of courtesy. According to the arrest warrant affidavit, Simpson got upset at Hampton for not thanking her for holding the door.
Wow.
It spiraled quickly from there. Hampton, who reportedly waived her Miranda rights, confirmed that she engaged in the verbal dispute, entering the PetSmart twice and continuing the argument, throwing a drink bottle at Simpson's car when she was about to leave and engaging in a physical altercation with her.
Yeah, so it looks like the girl followed mom and the daughter from one store into another, got into a physical kind of pushing match, and then when they got out, she threw a water bottle at the woman's car. And I'm sure the woman got out angry, ready to fight, and the girl pulled out a gun and shot her. It's crazy.
Adding that she took out her gun and shot Simpson, stating she was trying to get Simpson away from her. And again, the victim's daughter was a witness to all of it.
I've been trying not to cry, but just being in high school, my mom was such an important person during my lifetime, and she's the reason I became a nurse. My whole family is. Honestly, if I could just hug that daughter, I just feel so bad for her, and I just want her to know that I did everything I could. Those other people did everything they could.
And those other people included two other nurses who rotated in CPR. Meanwhile, I can tell you that Hampton remains at the Dallas County Jail and no bond has been set. Back to you.
All right, Alex Boyer, thank you.
All right, so there you have it. Really a cautionary tale about guns and a good argument why people shouldn't have guns. I agree. But it's not enough for me. Just because there's one person with anger issues or one crazy person is not enough for me to want to give up my rights and my right to self-defense. And I do understand, as long as guns exist and people have them, there will be accidents, there will be crimes committed with them, and bad things will happen. But again, for me, it's not enough for me to give up my rights just because somebody with anger issues is out there. That person should be arrested and then held to account for what she did in every case. Unfortunately, we are seeing soft on crime policies all over America where this woman is likely never to spend a day in jail because she shot the other woman, because they will look at, look at her demographic issues and she's poor and she was abused. They're going to come up with, her lawyers will come up with all kinds of stuff on why she shouldn't go to jail. But I say, no, she should go to jail. She shot and killed somebody. You need to be held accountable for what you do. It's sort of like the young girl who was murdered on the train. She was murdered by a guy who'd been let out of jail many times. People knew he was dangerous, but they kept letting him out. So, no, I would put her in jail. And then one other thing I'd like to point out to everyone, when we're talking about gun crimes, I went and I pulled up some statistics. Race and state of the union. U.S. homicide deaths, 1 per million people aged 15 to 34 in 2014. I know this is 10-year-old data, but I think it still is illustrative of what I'm talking about. There's a lot of anger in the black community and a lot of crime in the black community. According to this chart, the way I read it, the most likely people to die from guns are black males. 646 per million people. Latino males are number 2 by 110, and then black females are 57. This is something that the anti-gun people don't really talk about. A lot of this violence is black on black violence. And as we saw in the video, it was 2 black folks that got into this altercation. One of them shot the other. In the US and the UK, you're really not allowed to say that anymore, or people say you're a racist. I'm not about that. Let's look at the facts and call it like it is. If we have all this black on black violence, then we need to look at why is that and try to look at solving that problem. Don't take away the guns because knuckleheads want to shoot each other. Look at the real problems. I don't want to give up my rights because some other people are knuckleheads. Criminals don't obey the law. What about the guy who was burning the Quran in front of the Turkish consulate, I believe? In protest, he was confronted by a man who got angry, went home and got a knife, came back and tried to stab him. So bad people are going to do bad things. And perhaps the woman might not have died if she had been stabbed. I get it. America has had guns as long as it's existed. If you went back into the 1960s, I could have walked into a hardware store and bought an automatic rifle and walked out with it, no problem. If I had the money, no ID, if I had the cash, they would have sold it to me. And we didn't have these shootings in schools back then. So the problem is not the guns. There's some other societal problem going on. And I'm not sure what it is, but I suspect it's the internet and social media. I do not want to give up my rights because other people can't control themselves. We need to figure out ways to control the people that can't behave. And unfortunately, some innocent people will die because of that. That's what I think. Like and subscribe if you like this. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Thanks. Bye.